James Melendez. I'm going to talk about fragrance and wine. Stay tuned. I've been very experimental in my videos for a long time, and I think it's really something I was actually on the fence about. Should I do this? I was kind of worried about doing it because I was thinking, what would the wine community think of me in terms of liking fragrance? And ultimately, I came up to some rationales that make a lot of sense for it. First of all, this lovely item here, this wine, it's a Chardonnay by the way, is something to enjoy. And how do I enjoy it? I smell it. Beautiful. And ultimately, how I enjoy this is through scent as well. And that's a great experience that we have as humans, is to really understand and really envelop ourselves in the scent characterization of many materials around the planet. Now, ultimately, when you look at, sometimes these don't get along, so to speak. That is, the wine community, especially at a technical tasting, which I totally understand, no additional fragrances, please. And I think that's to not overwhelm the sensory experience, to experience the wine in its fullest. Right? Now think of it this way, I think there's some opposition here. Sometimes I think when I say that I like fragrance and I'm in the wine community, it's like, oh wow, you really destroy the sensory experience of wine. And I don't believe in that. I don't wear fragrance all the time, but sometimes maybe it's I'm going to a party and I want to really smell special. And I want to put something on that I really, really enjoy. I wear it for me primarily, not for anyone else necessarily. Ultimately, what I want to do is experience this myself. And this is an ancient art form, both wine and fragrance. And you can look back, so the ancient Mesopotamians had it was written for the first perfumer, and that was about 3,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago, there's a site in Cyprus that was really the perfume laboratory, so to speak. And then you have about 4,000 years ago to 5,000 years ago in India, that fragrance or perfume was mentioned in the Ayurvedic text. So I think in this regard, it's really, really special and amazing. It's also in many traditions. So the Islamic traditions, this is where the science, which is to distillate materials and to create substrates or oils from that to create a fragrance. And I think that's a really interesting thing. Then you get to the Christian period where it kind of pretty much ends. So it pretty much ends in the Christian era, and it probably ends for about 1,000 years, maybe 1,200 years. And it ends, I'm not really sure the reason why. So in the Catholic Mass, you definitely have incense, so that was still left behind. The Christ child, visited by the three kings, he receives gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Frankincense is a fragrance or a perfume, and that was a perfume then and a material today. And you can look at myrrh, which is something to be used as an anointing oil. And so if you look at a lot of reasonings why the Christ child received this, actually other kings had received this as well when they were born, is really, it centers not necessarily the golden portion, but really the frankincense and myrrh would be somewhat of a healing property of these two materials, and it was something to be a great honor to get. And it was a very fascinating thing to have in that experience. So back then, it was not to mask smells necessarily, so it was to receive health and wellness potential. And then you look to, say, 1,400 years later, in the you find in the royal courts of Europe, they're creating and commissioning. So they are having warrants completed to have fragrances for the palaces and so forth. But that's to mask bad smells. And I think that's really the negative connotation here. So fragrance, up until recent modernity, is not, it sometimes has a negative connotation today, is that people are trying to mask a scent, as opposed to maybe going back 2,000 years ago when it was really to maybe add on and really envelop in the sensory characterization of daily life, to enjoy daily life through exotic materials and to wear them on your skin so it smells amazing. And I think that's something that's been left behind. And you look in the past 100 to 125 years, it was really designed in terms of just being that fragrance of a luxuriant experience. It's a fashion experience, but for me, it's a really necessary experience. I really enjoy it. There's so many, some of my favorite bottles are here, but ultimately, the opposition here is that, this will interfere with this. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. You go to a technical tasting, sure, don't wear this. But here's what I'm going to point out, is that fragrance is almost in every part of our lives. Whether we think we're wearing it or not, we probably are. Here's why. You're going to have it in soap, you're going to have it in lotion, in shampoo and conditioner. You're going to have it in moisturizers and maybe even your detergent. and all these things add up, and you're wearing multiples per day. And it's designed specifically, why? Because it is attractive. A lot of people will buy, I see people at a store and they're smelling a certain detergent because I want to make sure it's going to smell on them in a certain fashion, or that they're going to optimize their experience. I enjoy this, and I think life is too short and too good to not really talk about why scent is important. It really harkens back to memories that we might have. I might think of my mother in terms of maybe a certain perfume she really enjoys, or for me, it really envelops me in terms of transporting me to maybe what I would say that cosmopolitan experience of city life, and maybe it just really gives me some assurance in some ways. It gives me some comfort and evocation for future and good things. It's really hard to explain. It's not just one thing or another, it's many things. So here's, I'll talk about these particular fragrances in their own video reviews because I think they're fantastic. So we have Paris Monte Carlo, and it's Bois d'Oud. So oud is the central fragrance characterization here. This is one of my favorites, Acqua di Parma. This is leather, and leather is the central focus here. You have a heritage producer, so this is Guerlain, Paris, and it's called Santal Royal. This is an American perfume or fragrance, and it is called Dame. It's out of Scottsdale, Arizona, and this is Man Leather. It is really amazing. So I have two leathers going on here. And this is a British scent here called Endymion by Penhaligon's. All these come out together to be really amazing experiences in that footstep and loveliness of life. And I think it's just really important for me to talk about. So I'll put my article down below. Give a like to the video, questions and comments, list them down below. Let's stay connected. And I very much appreciate you watching this video today. Stay tuned for more. Santé.